Five here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another commercial real estate tactical broker trading with the EXP Mastery team. Hey, we believe most commercial real estate agents, brokers, realtors, business brokers, sometimes they struggle with clarifying role playing, negotiating, sales techniques, and strategies to grow their business on a consistent basis. So every Monday, we like to warm up and practice ourselves here live on YouTube, sometimes Facebook, Twitter, where we're talking some of the things that we're struggling with, we're learning from. We're on a journey together, and I'm here with Pierce York. He's a luxury realtor in Newport Beach, as well as a commercial broker. Pierce, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man.
Excellent. Let's dive right into the topic today, which is all about leveraging virtual assistants to grow your business and to get out of the weeds so that you could be doing the high impact content creation, cold calling sometimes, of course, always, but as well as, meetings, doing the high level working on the business versus in the business. So Pierce York, what would you say your biggest challenge or what's your biggest aha moment when it comes to virtual assistants? What has it been so far?
Yeah, actually, I did an interview on the podcast with a gentleman who basically has a VA company. He calls them remote team workers. Anyway, one of the big aha moments was that most of the time people will have a problem and then they will try to hire a VA to solve the problem. And they don't spend the time really thinking through what they want their new employee to actually do. They don't spend the time setting up parameters for success. They don't spend the time building out a job description, and they end up putting them in when it's basically a firestorm, and they expect them to try and solve the problem, and it never works because they haven't trained them properly and they haven't led themselves properly. And
let me pull that out real fast, right? So that's interesting. So yeah, they haven't clearly defined what the role is, the job description, the day-to-day, and they're bringing them into a fast-moving pace environment, and they're not properly prepared to make sure that they're going to be successful. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, exactly.
So you were going to say something else after that. I cut you off. Go ahead.
So one of the solutions and kind of the number one secret, as you like to say, to making sure that you're hiring these people is to start by writing down on a piece of paper or a Google sheet or whatever, right, the tasks that you absolutely hate doing and you never want to do again. Or even the tasks that are not the highest and best use of your time. And do this for 2 to 3 weeks. And as you start writing these out, you will start to be able to start lumping and categorizing each task together in kind of like an overall summary. And that after a few weeks, you'll have a really good job description if you take the time and you look and you start to categorize them.
I like it. So really defining A, what you're good at, B, what gives you energy, or C, what pulls away, the things that you hate, doesn't give you energy. Write those down as you're doing your day-to-day, and what are those things you're doing consistently, and then for a couple of weeks, and then categorize which parts of those, and then looking for someone to hire to take over a few of those. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then as you're going through, right, the other issue is that a lot of people don't write down what is success, right? And they don't define success and let the new employee know, hey, if you hit X, Y, and Z, then you will be successful in the role, right? And it will quantify it for them. Okay, I need to make 15 contacts a day. And if I make 15 contacts a day, right, that is success.
I think that's so good. I think that's called the key numbers, right? You must define the 2 to 4 key numbers for the role. No, this is from Building an Elite Organization from Don Winter, DLP Capital, amazing book. And it's talking about key numbers. These key numbers are often derived from expectations, right? So I think part of what you're saying is, what are the expectations for the role? So in the example of an investor success manager, the key numbers are a 100 points per quarter, 60 referrals per year, 25% increase in average account size, and 10 investor meetings per week, right? So in your scenario, you're saying like 15, calls or contacts or good conversations per day could be, right?
Right.
And what's the role? What are the expectations? These key numbers for each team member should be then connected to top level key numbers to the division or organization. So there's a clear connection between each person's individual production and role with the overarching goals of the organization. This is how you create alignment, engagement, accountability, and results. And so this book, by the way, before that talks about the chapter is Rockstar A players, and it talks about, in order to build an incredible organization that will withstand any market cycle, any economic condition, anything that the competition can throw your way, you need team members whose behaviors match the core values and culture of your organization. You need team members who can perform their jobs at rockstar levels. These rockstar A players are the key to your success. So I think that's good, Pierce. Do you have culture? Do you have core values? Do you have a clear vision for what you're doing as a big organization? And then next, B, do you have the players in place, team members in place to help you execute on that? Have you set the right expectations? Have you set the right key numbers? Right? Is there anything to add there, Pierce?
No, I think that's good. And yeah, I'm going through the same book. So
It's a great book. I'll be with Don this week too. It's gonna be cool. I'm gonna see him twice this week. I'm excited. But I'm reading this book over and over again because it's so practical and helpful. So I'll tell you a little bit of my experience with remote team members. And by the way, we're talking about kind of like team members in general, and now remote team members. Here's some practical things that can maybe help you right now as a commercial real estate broker, agent, or even a realtor who's looking at scaling and trying to get out of the weeds. I would say, besides all of what we just said there, to get super practical, I think you want to hire somebody full-time as quickly as you can right now, even if you haven't said all of those things. Although you do want to set those things, but you want to go find someone who's humble, hungry, and smart. Then obviously you want to write a job description, but sometimes you don't even know what to write. Well, you can go find other job descriptions online, right? But it can be just an operations manager. It could be a transaction coordinator. It could be someone who does proposals and marketing. It could be a social media manager. It could be a video editor, right? But essentially, what are the top 10 virtual or remote team member roles, responsibilities? But it's not until you dive in and actually take the action and hire the person full time that you can actually start to practice and work out this muscle of delegating, right? Because there's 4 things of delegating, or there's four parts of every business. There's design, there's delegating, there's deciding the work, and there's doing the work, right? So first of all, if you're spending most of your time doing the work, right, versus designing the work, you're already in an influx position. And if you're the only broker, or you're on like a team that everyone's kind of doing the same thing, you are going to be doing all 4. You're always going to be designing. You're always going to be, well, there's really no delegating if you're doing it by yourself, and deciding the work and doing the work. So the key is understanding which part of the business, what would be the fundamentals that you're spending your time in. So back to just hiring the person. If you hire the person, you get the action going. Now it's just having them watch you on your shoulder, right? And what I mean by that is, on a Zoom meeting or screen share, they can watch the things that you're repeatedly doing over and over and over again. They can sit in meetings with you on Zoom. They can take notes. Obviously, they can enter those notes into the CRM. They can do follow-up with text messages, follow up with emails, get people into the automation system. They can take off what you've already been doing if you just have them watch you do it for long enough. So Pierce, any thoughts on that?
I think that's one of the biggest kind of like failures that I had was not doing that, and I basically tried to fire sale it. Like, hey, like I have a problem. I need this solved. And I didn't do any of that stuff. And I just kind of expected them. And it didn't work out because I didn't have a good enough training program and letting them just kind of watch what I was doing like on the day to day. That yeah, I think it's critical. I don't think you can do it without that.
I think part of that's that mindset that the way we hire and train and coach our new team members is whoever's their direct report, it's their responsibility to make that new hire successful, right? Not the other way around. The new hire to be successful is not there. So it's reversing it and saying, hey, I'm going to be pouring into you now, encouraging you, challenging you, training you, right? But it's my job to make you successful. It's your job to be humble, hungry, and smart, right? Really hungry, working extremely hard, self-motivated, humble, coachable, willing to learn, but also knowing your strengths, right? Which you're really good at, being confident in those. And then smart, be able to emotionally EQ connect with others. When you have those things, and if you spend enough time, you can learn by over my shoulder watching. And part of that is actually recording it. Pierce, we talked about this, right?
Right.
Where you actually record the set amount of times where for these next 30 minutes to an hour, we're going to be doing this blog post. We're going to be doing this video editing. We're going to be doing these cold call, this follow-up, this CRM, all the stuff you're doing, the website design, the marketing proposals, the underwriting, even the contracts that you're drafting, the contracts, all the stuff you're already doing. If you're not having someone watch you do them as you do them, how are you ever going to delegate it, right? In other words, most of us think that we have to like sit there and like teach somebody like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine sitting for an hour or two trying to teach someone on a PowerPoint or in a screen share, how to do something. They should already just know it. I want them to just know it. Okay, got that. But why don't you just go do the thing? And instead of trying to teach them, have them just absorb what you're doing. In fact, they don't have to say anything. They can just watch you for, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours. Do you think, Pierce, if you watched me or anyone else do something for 50, 60, 70, 100 hours that you wouldn't pick up on 5, 10, 20, eventually like 70, 80%? I mean, you'll get to a certain point where you need to practice it, right?
Right.
But if you're able to watch the recording, absorb it, and then go do it yourself, that you couldn't eventually do the thing that someone else is doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, I think it's huge. And if you don't do it, I don't know how else, unless they're already trained, I don't know how else they're going to learn and you're going to develop them into the person that you want them to be. And like I said, that was my biggest thing, because I didn't want to spend the time and pay somebody to look over my shoulder. I didn't understand that I didn't take ownership, and basically it was a leadership failure on my part, because I didn't own the fact that I had to develop them, and I was expecting them to come in and solve my problem. And it's like building the business, right? If you don't build the systems, if you don't build the actual business, you're just the employee. If I don't build the training program, right? If I don't let them watch me, they're never going to pick it up, and I can't expect them to, because then it's out of my hands.
Yep. And by the way, that's one side of this too. I also don't want to say that you're not hiring people with a skill set, right? Have no experience, who aren't capable with technology and communication and numbers. But that's part of the defining which seat on the bus, what expertise they're bringing in. And this is also a good part of the DLP Building Elite Organization book. He talks about defining the right person. The first step to filling an organization with great people is to determine what your company's values and what complementary qualities you're seeking in a team member. And that's key, the complementary qualities, right, that you're seeking in a team member, someone who complements your strengths, right? Their strengths are probably your weaknesses. Right. I know for me, one of my first hires we call our system design architect. I'm great at vision. I'm great at galvanizing and moving people towards action. She's great with follow through and systematic workflows and creating funnels, websites, CRMs, designs, like really detailed, intricate work that's so important. That's just her strength. Now I can do those things, but they just drain my energy, and they're not my highest and best use of helping to make an impact for my clients and my team members. So, for example, if your organization values people who are self-starters, tend towards entrepreneurism, and have the type of curious nature that compels them to seek out their own innovative answers, you're going to want to focus on attracting doer types who thrive in an environment with less direction and more autonomy. That would be like me and Pierce. We're more visionary, more in general, we're extroverted. In general, we feel we get more energy with more people and be in those type of environments. We're moving fast paced, new challenges, new things, right? If on the other hand, your business is very systematic, and by the way, good companies need both, right? You can't just have a bunch of systematic people or a bunch of visionaries. And on the other hand, if your business is very systematic and orderly, requiring people to follow a set detailed processes already in place, that's the key, already in place, the same self-driven innovator is not going to be set up for a success in your organization. You want to find someone who thrives in a structured environment. Obviously, this is part of the DISC profile. Are they analytical or are they drivers, right? Are they really good with numbers versus just people? And in general, what is the specialty you're looking to solve for? But I think the biggest hire for me, Pierce, first of all, any thoughts on that, Pierce? Any feedback on that?
No, and I I think that's key is, and I think that kind of goes back to what I was kind of saying when we opened, right? Is understanding what your business needs are. Because if you don't understand them, you might not hire the right person with the right skill set. And it will make training a whole lot easier if someone's already has an understanding of what it is that they're going to be doing and in that field.
Yeah. And we also tend to hire the people that are most like us because that's just comfortable, right? But it may not be what we need for the complementary part of the business.
Yeah.
So err on the side of hiring somebody has a different personality type strength than you, right? Has a different set of skill sets, and a different way of really gathering momentum and keeping that momentum, or doing what type of activities versus what kind of activities help you to gather and keep momentum. Because business is, I know I've heard a saying for winning is like 80 or 90% just who can create and sustain momentum, right? I think it's Tony Robbins has this quote, create and sustain the momentum is 80 to 90% of what it takes to win. And so you want to make sure that you can create. And the worst part for visionaries, I know for myself, Pierce, tell me what you think. Man, I have this big idea, this big excitement. I go to this conference, this podcast, this book, and this big idea. And I want to go create this thing, get it going. I might even start the first draft. But I get not the decision fatigue, but just the actual systematic process to do all the detail fatigue. And then I lose momentum and either forget about it or I want to go on to the next thing, right? And so I've got to have someone with me at that, like I remember for me, it was Russell Brunson's 1 funnel away challenge, right? I heard about Russell Brunson, I watched some of his stuff, but it wasn't until I took that challenge and I had my assistant, my virtual assistant, remote work team member, literally sit there with me, and do the entire training with me. And I would have the big vision after, day one. And I would say, wow, go create A, B, C, D. And then she would create the first rough draft. I'd say spend an hour or two just, doing that first. Then I would go through it and I'd update it a little bit, right? And then she'd do it again and update it. And we would just kind of just work together to get this thing moving. Had I had to do all of A through Z, it would have drained my energy. B would have took me off from the major things, which were, creating more content, following up with clients, closing more deals, helping more people. But then B, I wouldn't probably have done it as well either. So is that making sense, Pierce, on that?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I mean, like it's huge, and it's something that I'm struggling with right now. It's trying to figure it out myself, where I'm trying to create these things, and it's just I get lost in the weeds. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Like all of a sudden I see the big picture, I know where I want to go, and then I get down in there and I lose my way like super quickly. And it's just not a strength, So yeah, it's 100% exactly what you're talking about.
So let's get super practical here, right? And this is what helped me. And now we're up to 8 remote team members, and we're scaling and we're growing. Not without its ups and downs, but just getting that first one going. And ideally, if you're the visionary head of the company, not as great as building the systems and processes, right? But you've already decided that your highest and best use of your time and your energy is client facing or content creating. Then what do? Well, A, find someone who's humble, hungry, and smart. B, they have complementary skill sets. C, make a very detailed job description. and really, I guess even D, how's it going to help you grow your business? Have that big why, what it's going to be able to open up opportunities for you to do. And then when you bring that person on, you're going to help make them successful by leading and building them up as a leader. As it pertains to what you're trying to do together. You're doing it together. And sometimes that means literally they're sitting on your shoulder. You're recording what you're doing. And I've heard it put this way, have them watch you, record it, and maybe spend 30 minutes to an hour on some kind of training or something that you're already doing. I call it training, but it's more like observing what you're already doing, whether that be skip tracing to find phone numbers, whether that be follow up with emails or building an email campaign for a new sales comp or a new market update, whether that be the blog. Again, all of this list that you should also do a time tracking of everything you're doing, and then start doing that thing. Okay, so for this hour, we're spending it on skip tracing. Great. Okay, for 1 hour, you're going to watch me how I, skip trace and find phone numbers. Great. And then as they're watching you, they're just observing. You're not necessarily really saying much except for this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing what I'm doing. And then number 2, I want you to go back and rewatch that replay. So the first hour you do the thing, you record it, you send them the recording, they rewatch the replay, and then in their own words, they're going to put the SOP. This was step 1, this was step 2, 3, all the way down to, let's say, step 10 or 15 or whatever it takes to get the thing done. The very next day, you do the exact same thing. But here's the key. You start from scratch all the way over, because what you're automatically doing over and over and over again, you may not even know all of the systems and processes in your mind that it's become kind of just unconscious, right? And it's not until you're starting from A to Z each time that you can start to really flush that out. It might take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might take 10 sit downs for 1 hour at a time on that one thing. But if every single day they're watching you do it, you're recording it, then they go back and rewatch the recording, and then they're writing a brand new SOP, right? Standard operating procedure. And then eventually, guess what? They're going to say, I think I can do it, or I'm there. Then you say, great, let me watch you do it now. Then you're going to watch them do it. And you might critique them. You might add a little thing here or there. But the point is, it should be off your plate. Right? And imagine never having to do a skip trace ever again. Now apply that to funnels. Now apply that to email marketing campaigns. Now apply that to your CRM and your follow-up. Now apply that to underwriting, more advanced here. Now apply that to eventually cold calling, right? Can you start to have cold callers? We're actually testing right now 3 full-time cold callers that are just all they do every day, 5 days a week, is cold call and reach out right now to luxury homeowners to look at the deferred sales trust as a way to exit, and also multifamily owners as a way to exit. And we're seeing how we can scale with that. Pierce, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I like I said, I think it's the best way to train them. Because like I said, I've tried the other ways, and it's just it doesn't work. And you end up frustrated, and they end up frustrated, and just so it's just your system's pretty good. I do have some practical questions for you, right?
Yeah, let's go.
What types of skills are you looking that are must-haves when you're looking to hire somebody?
So if it's remote workers, their communication's got to be a 10 out of 10. Okay. And I've learned through the years that if it's not like top communication, where when I'm speaking, you're hearing what I'm saying, and I know that we're on the same frequency as far as what's being communicated. If it's not there, then it's the rest of it. It doesn't matter if they're really great with the website, or really great with funnels, really great with systems and processes or numbers. If the communication isn't in sync, then the rest of it kind of falls apart. So number 1 is communication. Number 2, they've got to be committed full-time exclusively with you, right? If not, then it's going to be a situation where they're going to be half in, half out. They're going to be working multiple hustles, and it becomes a situation where you're pouring into them, and it's not going to work. So now, what starts with you being a great leader and you having an attractive brand, an attractive, salary, and then the benefits and all of the things that are associated with that. So it's got to be in a culture, and I like to say that we're building leaders. We don't want just workers. We want team members that are going to be leaders to help us go to the next level in our business and helping our clients. So do you have a big enough why? Do you have a culture? Do you have a brand so that they are excited to be with you, right? And if you have that and they're committed and their communication's great, now the next thing would be humble and hungry. Are they willing to work really hard and they humble and coachable? If I have that, then I'm also going to try to identify their unique skill set, their experience, their background. And then, and of course, I'm going to try to weave that in. Pierce, is that making some sense so far? So it's an art and a science there.
Of course. And I'm sure it basically fluctuates based upon what you're trying to have them do. So, but the top three, right? Great communication, committed full time, and humble, hungry, and smart are non-negotiables in anybody, is what you're saying.
Yep, 100%. Exactly. So that being said, how are we doing on time here? Okay. Oh, we're good. Actually, just a couple more minutes. We're going to wrap it up. Yeah, those are some of the main ones. Here's some resources for you. So there's a couple different books. What's his name here? It's oh shoot. Well, first of all, Building an Elite Organization. If you don't have this book yet, Don Winter, it's an amazing book. Check out this book. The Blueprint to Scaling High Growth, High Profit Business. It's a Wall Street bestseller book. Don Winter, Building an Elite Organization. So check that book out. Virtual assistants. You can look virtual assistants, remote workers. That really helps. If you're not creating content, if you are creating content, you're going to want a YouTube channel, and you're going to want someone who's a full-time video editor, someone who can go on podcasts. This is my YouTube channel here. You see this, Pierce? Oh, let's see here. Let's see if I can pull this up so people can see this. It's Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel. And we have, all these different videos where either I'm on the podcast or I have someone on my podcast, or I'm just creating short form videos. We're also doing shorts now, which are great, but I'm not editing any of these videos. My full-time video editor is, right? And we're releasing, and some of them get, 41 views, some of them get 300 views, 11 views, 179, 231. This one got over 1,100 views, which is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly why, but I'm not editing these videos is the point. I'm just creating the content, and the content goes to my virtual remote worker. And he is a specialist. He loves creating story within videos, right? It's kind of it's an art form for him. It's great. Then I have someone creating the thumbnails, but in the beginning, I was creating the thumbnails, right? In the beginning, I was kind of piecemealing out the video editing work, and I just went full-time 40 hours a week with the video editor. So I think this could be a great place for you to get your content. So if your number one thing is, hey, Brett, I need to build a brand, well, great. A, get a YouTube channel. B, get a full-time video editor, and you can have them create the thumbnails, and you create the content and take some photos, and you're up and running on your YouTube channel. We get people calling us every single week from this. We also have our expert CRE secrets, okay, which is our other YouTube channel and other podcast. And we're also streaming on this now. Oh, let's see here. Let's see if we can go back. Here it is. Not as big of subscribers, but still we're releasing a lot of content for people to find us as well. But it's as simple as that. And I would say, yeah. So what's the one thing that if you complete it in the next 30, 60, 90 days and make the biggest impact in your business? What's that one big domino, right? Is it an operations manager? Is it a video editor for content creation? Is it a full-time cold caller if you could bring someone on to do that? What is the one thing? And then just focus on that one person, right? That one hire, and get them up and running and going for your business. Does that make sense, Pierce?
Yeah, it makes great sense.
And realize it's not going to be perfect, right? Like your metric should be, how many people can I hire full-time from a business to scale in the next 12 months? Which means A, knowing your numbers, B, knowing how many deals you're closing, and then C, understanding what your business can cash flow and afford. So those are just some of the things. We'll be back next week. If you want to learn more, you can go to expmastery.com. It's expmastery.com. We have team members across the country that are joining us, luxury realtors, commercial real estate brokers, and they're becoming a part of our EXP team. And as well, if you want to learn about how to defer capital gains tax, not using a 1031 so you can grow your business, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolution.com. You can also look up the new book coming out with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. Check that out. Pierce, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
You can find me on kingdomluxuryrealty.com or Living in Newport Beach, California YouTube channel.
All right, everybody, make it a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
You too. See you.